Election. Labour not party of working class, says John Curtis. Sign up for latest news plus tips to save money and the environment. Subscribe. When you subscribe, we will use the information you provide to send you these. Sometimes they'll include recommendations for other related newsletters or service. Our privacy notice explains more about how we use your data and your rights. You can unsubscribe at any. The Labour Party's modern left treats Britain's working class voters like museum pieces. Paul Embering, a leading trade unionist and Labour member, to co.uk. It comes as Labour's leader, Sir Keir Starmer, this month hit a popularity slump after enjoying almost a year of rising. Many have now questioned whether he is political enough to fulfill the role of opposition leader following a string of grillings by Prime Minister Boris Johnson during appearances at PN. From November last year to the beginning of 2021, Labour and Sir Keir enjoyed positive figures in the polls, with voters suggesting they would elect a Labour government if a general election were held at that time. Now, however, if an election were held tomorrow, 41% of people would vote Tory, while 37% would opt for Labour, a significant fall in the month before when 41% of voters said they would choose Sir Keir over Mr. The government's successful mass vaccination program has been largely credited with the slip, as the country reaches its most united point in years following the EU's threatening Britain's vaccine supplies and triggering Article 16 of it. Sir Keir has spent almost a year attempting to reinvigorate Labour and shed the party of the radical left-wing skin it took on under former leader. In 201, under Mr. Corbyn and his socialist front bench, Labour suffered its worst election defeat since 135 as its so-called Red Wall, a band of working class, north of England seats, fell to the Tory. Mr. Embry told Express.co.uk that there is no route back to power for Labour that does not pass through those Red Wall seats. The party has taken this on board, with Sir Keir now having pledged to turn Labour into Britain's peak. A leaked memo from an internal strategy presentation commissioned by the party this month stated that Labour must make use of the Union flag, veterans, and dressing smartly in order to win back disillusioned. The Guardian, who saw the report, noted that it proved Labour was playing identity politics, with others arguing it exposes a veneer of naivety from the party about its traditional voter. It appeared to chime with Mr. Embry's view that Britain's modern left, Corbynite figures such as Deputy Leader Angela Rayner, Rebecca Long-Bailey and Mr. Corbyn himself, view the country's working class as museum pieces, and are detached and removed from their daily lives. And struck trending talking about last year's US election, he told Express.co.uk. There are definitely similarities between what's happened in the US and the Democrats have followed a similar trajectory as the Labour Party in terms of embracing some of the stuff around identity politics and wokeness, and concentrating on the concerns of middle-class liberals and less on the concerns on the Rust Belt. That's why Trump was able to win quite a large chunk of working-class support. There's a culture war going on in America, there's one going on in Britain, and it's one where ordinary working-class voters feel that they're treated as museum pieces in their own country, and that their views are unwelcome and are made to feel like bigots. So when someone comes along and says, "We speak for you, we're on your side in this culture war," then people are inclined to back that. The top recommendations in the Labour memo include the use of the flag, veterans, dressing smartly at the war memorial, etc. Give voters a sense of authentic value. A senior party official told the publication that the language came from the brand agency Republic's language rather than the party. Yet, many party staffers have been left concerned. One told the paper, "I was just sitting there replaying in my mind the storming of the Capitol in Washington last month, and thinking, are you really so blind to what happens when you start pandering to the language and concerns of the right?" Clive Lewis, a prominent Corbynite who dropped out of the party's leadership race early on last year, and who served as a soldier in Afghanistan, said, "The Tory party has absorbed UKIP and now Labour appears to be absorbing the language and symbols of it. It's not patriotism, it's fatherlandism. There's a better way to build social cohesion than moving down the track of the nativists." Sir Keir's effort to focus exclusively on British identity could perhaps be too little too late, according to Professor Robert Toombs, the renowned British historian. He told Express.co.uk that Labour faced an impossible task as Mr. Johnson's approval rating soared, and said, "Whether Labour wins back those Red Wall voters very largely depends on how successful the Johnson government is in keeping those voters. Labour won't win them back whatever it does unless the government messes up, which it could do, and in some ways it's bound to." Somebody once said governments lose elections, oppositions don't win them. The other problem for Labour and Keir Starmer is that much of the Labour Party membership is still much less representative of its voters, and that there is a strong Remainer identity politics, a woke element of the Labour Party. This isn't very attractive to many of the Red Wall seats who voted Conservative, so Starmer has quite a job on. Meanwhile, Ms. Rayner has been called on to apologise She demanded Mr. Hancock hand back donations amounting to £32,000 he received from the chair of the Institute of Economic Affairs, i.e. The group recently published a report outlining that there was nothing special in the NHS's performance in the coronavirus. She tweeted, "I have written to Matt Hancock demanding that he repay the donations he has received from the chair of the IEA following their report disgracefully attacking the NHS and NHS staff, saying that there is no reason to be grateful for the NHS and NHS staff don't dis but IEA chair Neil Record said claims they bankrolled Mr. Hancock are simply false." He has since asked Ms. Rayner to publicly apologize for the